take our masks off. We have each other's cooties. Yeah. I didn't put any lipstick on. I mean gloss. Turn these on and off.
I think we can be on them together and they're supposed to be connected to each other, but I don't know if that happened. Is your phone muted?
It's back there.
It will go off, I know it. Hi, Valerie. Since we were meeting with you today, that was given to him by the visitor industry. That with that in 2015, the Visitor Enhancement Fund was created, which purpose is to enhance tourism and visitor related activities. And the funding uses for this fund are for Convention and Visitors Bureau and funding travel of municipal officials to travel related conventions and trade shows and procurement of tourism related advertising. And so I like to just talk about the fund because that is the primary source of our funding through the city. A little history on our contract is that the RFP for Convention and Visitor Services went out in 2015 and the chamber was selected. We had a 3-year contract that ran until June of 2018. We created the destination marketing organization, now known as Visit Sitka, as part of that, and the brand and all of these visuals that you'll be seeing along the way, as well as some of the items that we brought along with you. Currently, we are in a 3-year renewable contract, and the contract has a base amount of $300,000 each year. And during the assembly work session, and for us, it's based on what the Visitor Enhancement Fund has collected, what's happening, and what are the needs of the program. We come to you each year to give you that time to meet with us, and then also request additional funds. I want to note also that we could also be given figures. I don't see Melissa here, but the taxes that were collected in the transient lodging tax were 394. That is down from our FY20 or FY19 was about 577. And we were actually on a curve to just keep on going up with our revenue expectations. And it looks like to me from the last information that I was able to see was that the Visitor Enhancement Fund has a negative balance going into FY20. It's the first time since it was established. It's the first time that we've had a pandemic during this, during the time since this funding and this marketing program has existed. This also gives the background of some of the funding uses of the transient lodging tax or the Visitor Enhancement Fund. The museum received some funds, as well as an allocation for the capital project of the Lincoln Street, which I believe is still sitting in that fund. And then the Harrigan has also received some of the enhancement funds as well.
Could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
You're talking about fiscal year 20 having a negative 138,000, but we're on our fiscal year 22 budget, and our fiscal year 21
So that,
started like July 1st.
right.
So
we
it was
don't have
negative on June 30th.
That is correct. It
Yeah.
was because that was kind of the beginning of the pandemic when it was about March of 2020 when that happened. And I think the anticipated amount, yeah, I don't have Melissa here. I can get back to you on that answer, but I think there's some projections on what that could be.
I think that our projections were that it was $185,000 less than what we anticipated receiving in the budget. And that meant that all of this allocations, the Harrigan, the Visit Sitka funding, that didn't happen in the last quarter of fiscal year 20. So now we're into 21. In the first quarter of 21, we did see visitors, and we've been seeing some visitors, but of course it wasn't at the level of pre-pandemic amounts. So in our budget, we do show the base contract amount and the supplemental funding, and that's what we wanted to talk to you about today in looking at the reduction in revenues and also looking at what we're anticipating for the growth of our visitor industry and the amount of services that are needed to support that industry coming. This is a reduction of 22% over last year's funding, and we'll have some time at the end to discuss more, and we can answer questions as we get through that. But we want to quickly go.
More than ever has visited through the cruise industry before in Sitka. With that increase in visitors, we are looking at, and the way we're going to be able to do that is through additional cruise promotion. We have programs that will help get people to choose those itineraries with Sitka in them. Also, our businesses are going to need a lot of support with this exponential growth that's happening. So we need to develop programs that are going to help our local business community with customer service, with information. It's going to be a big lift with having this huge number of additional guests in 2022. Part of this promotion funding would include Sitka being able to once again attend Sea Trade. We haven't been able to do that. It's probably for 2 years because of the pandemic. There hasn't been a Sea Trade, but that's really important that you maintain those relationships with the cruise line executives and the people who are selling the cruises. We have had a lot of success with a new Holland America has been having some trade shows in Seattle and Vancouver. Not sure what's going to happen with Vancouver, but Seattle may happen. So if those shows happen, it would be important to be there. And these are direct to consumer, telling people you want to come to Sitka. These are the ships you want to make sure you book your itineraries for. The Seattle Boat Show, this is something that we've never done, but I think it would be really important for making connections in the yacht community and making people feel welcome and have the information they need to make that choice to start bringing their private ships into Sitka. That goes, I'm going to skip over the call center, and that also with the yacht development would be our yacht welcome packet that we're developing, and that to help people who actually work on the yachts, the captains and the crews, to learn more about Sitka and choose to buy what they need here and know what the resources are here. Also, a big part of this would be call center training. When you call to book a cruise, they upsell you on all the different things you can buy extra on a cruise. And what you want those call center people to do is to talk about your port, to have firsthand knowledge, just to be able to talk about, here, you want to buy this, you want to make sure you do this, you want to make sure you take care of that. And so doing call center staff training will give those people a lot more knowledge.
As far as our meetings and conventions program, we're so excited to be developing some really user-friendly and supportive content. Our meetings and conventions virtual planning guide is right now, the copy is being submitted, and we're doing photo shoots this week for that. Our online toolkit will be a resource for finding RFPs, figuring out ways that we can encourage convention planners to incorporate our culture and kind of the way of living here in Sitka and adding activities. as well as getting all of the information about venues, which is really parsed out and can be challenging. We're really going to create it into a streamlined place. With the pandemic, ATIA, the convention that with about 400 attendees, we had won the bid for 2021, but they have allowed Anchorage to host an in-person and virtual conference this fall in October. So they moved our convention to 2022. I think it's actually in our favor because it gives us a chance to let more travel open up and really be able to accept those 400. I don't know what the attendance of in-person will be this fall. We'll also be, as part of this program, we're training and teaching event planners how to do this by reaching out to the event planners that are in Juneau or doing events and meetings in the state. And so with these collateral pieces, we can really enhance that relationship with event planners so they choose Sitka and know how to sell it to the decision makers. Part of that is that we have created collateral. This was one of our big collateral pieces was our videos. And we want to share with you our meetings and conventions promo video. You're the first ones to see it publicly. So here we go. So along with showing and highlighting our meeting spaces, we wanted to also show some of the activities that you can have while you're here. And this video could be used. You know, as someone's pitching to have Sitka as your location, this 1 minute video is quick, but it also highlights a lot of what Sitka's got going for us in our community. So we're really excited. This is one of 5 1-minute videos. And we also have a 1.5 minute video that will have a narration and is nearly complete. So we're excited to be able to share that with you at a future special report. Okay.
Okay. So the next area we're going to talk quickly about is tourism, and that's independent traveler tourism, promoting, bringing those independent travelers here. The 2 shows that we had been going to, but have not been able to, obviously, is the independent traveler shows in San Francisco and Los Angeles. We've developed a campaign for showing people just how easy it is to get here. Now that we're moving back into the summer season, Delta's coming back. Alaska Airlines has added the 70s back. Their campaign, the 70s are back. So the flight number 70s are coming back into town. And we want to show people that they can take a flight to Seattle and then they're directly here. And those 2 markets are 2 of the markets that are really easy for folks to get here. So we would like to go back to those shows. And this is not only independent travelers, but it's also travel agents. And speaking of travel agents, the ASTA, which is the American Society of Travel Agents, I believe, they have a global travel agent show where they bring 2,400 travel agents basically from across the United States together for a conference every year. This is an event that we've attended for a couple of years until COVID happened. And we were getting some really good traction with name recognition with this event. And so we'd love to keep going. Travel agents, you know, people have kind of poo-poo travel agents over the last few 10 or so years, but people are going back to travel agents. They're feeling overwhelmed by the information. They're not sure, what's real, what's not real. So they are turning back to travel agents, and travel agents are not only doing independent travel, but they're doing cruise travel. The other thing is there's going to be as there was last summer, there's this big in-state travel promotion that the state of Alaska is producing in cooperation with Alaska Airlines. And so we are going to be working with Travel Alaska and Alaska Airlines with these in-state travel promotions to get those people back to Sitka. With media partnerships and co-op, we're looking at, once again, being able to return to the Alaska Media Roadshow. Media Roadshow is a one-day event, and it is basically speed dating with journalists. And there's one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. It's intense. You literally get 12 minutes where you get journalists that sit down in front of you from ABC, NBC, CBS, Turner Broadcast. I mean, these people, they rotate and you stay at your table. You get 12 minutes to tell them what's new, why they want to cover Sitka, and to entice them to potentially come visit, which is where hosting travel writers and media influencers come in. Some of these folks that we meet at Roadshow do make plans to come up, and we can host them when they're here in town and make sure that what they're interested in and what their editors want them to focus on is the experience that they're having. And then the last thing is Travel Alaska, which is the state of Alaska's marketing program, has cooperative marketing opportunities. We've just, in the last couple of months, actually last Saturday, we did an Instagram takeover for one-day Instagram takeover of their page. And a couple weeks prior to that, we did a Facebook takeover where we posted every day on travelalaska.com. We also we want to make sure we maintain good placement in their print planner as well as on their website. So leveraging the state's marketing program to get our word out.
And to mention on here, because of 2020 and not being able to have some of these in-person spends where Roadshow didn't happen, we were actually able to utilize the funds to bring a film crew in and actually film. I believe it was 6 days, 2 cameras, 12 hours a day. It's a ton of video content. Every video image can also be taken out and made into a high resolution photo for future collateral. It was a huge, so these are the 5 videos, but we also were able to help the Sitka TV show get footage for their, the trailer that they are working on. And the Sitka TV show is a project that's been 2 years running. We hosted the writer this last summer. He was here for 20 days. And then we had Raphael and Helena, who were here for 3 weeks to continue to work on that project. And they're just in the last step before making the trailer that then would be out and sold. They're just working on that final funding for that part of the project. So it was huge. We actually just helped them with the voiceover for that. And so we're really excited to see that project moving forward and them having the time, because they weren't working on the projects that had to cancel. They were able to come up for that really big amount of time this last summer. As far as advertising goes, do you want to cover that?
Sure. So with advertising comes in all forms, as you know. With our digital advertising, we want to keep on reaching out to those people who would be the decision makers who will be able to easily come and visit here. I think that what we're going to see as people come back to traveling, they're going to travel. Everyone says they're going to travel, but they are probably going to make what they consider safer travel choices. So we probably won't be seeing a lot of people from Florida or Georgia or New York. What we're going to see are those Pacific Northwest people, West Coast, staying on this side of the country and making their travel choices and maybe coming and hopefully hitting those bucket list things like coming to Alaska and coming to Sitka. We're also going to be working with Alaska Airlines on a Club 49 partnership. We just talked about it on Friday, still in the works, but you'll know as soon as we have that going. And for print, we do try to stay away from print because digital has a better reach and print is expensive, it's long-term, meaning you have to plan way out. But this year, we went back on that. And because of COVID, people they were trapped in their homes. They wanted to have things in their hands. They were actually buying magazines. They were picking up newspapers. And the trend of people moving away from print completely reversed with COVID. So for this past year, we did make some print choices. And I will tell you that because of the partnerships that we were able to build with some of these print people, we never would have been able to afford some of what we did this past year. Because if you happen to be following along with, say, Alaska Magazine, there are probably 5 issues of Alaska Magazine that have 0 ads in them. So we were able to leverage that relationship. So I'm going to throw these over here. Well, I won't throw them at you, but look through those, take a look. This is what we have done in the last year as far as print is concerned. The other great thing about print right now is that you can get really good digital buy-in as well. So when I talked to all of these folks, I said, well, I'd love to buy a print ad, but what are you going to throw in for free for digital? So all of these things have digital that backs it up as well. Social media, I think social media is still the way to go. People are still, they look to see where they want to go while they're dreaming. They look to see where their friends and family have gone and are going. So social media still needs to be this thing that stays on the top of our radar as far as our content. We push out 2 to 3 posts a week on Facebook and Instagram. And we're encouraging people to use the hashtag of Visit Sitka because that helps develop content for us as well. And then the last thing is just branded content, which is what it is when you look at a magazine or an article and it doesn't look like an ad, but it's obviously just talking about one topic. Often you'll scroll to the bottom and you'll see sponsored content. And that is what we're moving towards as well, because people seem to have a lot more trust in sponsored content than they do in actual advertising.
So you have in front of you the 2021 to 2022 visitor guide, and we're super excited about this. This is our 3rd year of making a magazine style visitor guide. Each story is unique, and each visitor guide is now actually loaded onto our website where you can view the digital planner library. So the stories about the salts that we loved in 2019 goes into other stories that we had in 2020, and then the 2021 content is all fresh and new, and it kind of builds on it. On each issue builds a little bit more of Sitka's stories, different angles, and also considering what are people looking for. So the private retreats and special purchases downtown, going on walks. So the art walk we included, and really just looking at how we can tell Sitka stories, both visually. We did a lot of acquisition of images in there. And also the brand is really translated even more in the back with the directory and different things that we've been able to develop. So we're really happy with being able to share this again. We have 20,000 copies that are printed, and those are actually going out to the 19 and 20 request lists. So those folks that were dreaming about coming in were planning to come in 2020 who had to cancel and were dreaming, we got that collateral piece in front of them to get them thinking about Sitka and, learning about how they can get here and who they can connect with while they're here. On visitSICA.org, we continue to maintain the website so that it's functioning and working. Pages are keeping, we're keeping content fresh. One of the things that we're doing and in the process of an expanded yacht services so that we can get those resources to those folks planning, as well as the travel trade page and toolkit so that people who are selling Sitka and have what they need. The meetings and conventions toolkit will be up, and then we'll be creating content for destination weddings and events. So meetings and conventions, more technical for sure, and destination weddings and events are really looking at how people could have a family reunion here. And of course, those weddings, there's been some really beautiful, magical weddings that happened in 2020. And because weddings are even looking at being smaller groups, it's a really great market for us to have visitors come in and bring their family. The blog is also it improves our search engine optimization, SEO, by having fresh content and images on our website. It's also letting us tell more of a story. We're really limited on how many stories we can tell in the visitor guide, but this really lets us go into what about winter activities in Sitka? How do you eat in Sitka on a special diet? What are those other things that people are looking for? And so it's been a lot of fun. I encourage you to go in and check those out for sure. Another aspect of supporting the businesses and the community is that we plan these events. We pretty low budget on them, but we want to make sure that we are still hosting them. The Visit Sitka Summer Expo, we will be holding this year. We'll do it in a larger space. We're planning to have it here at the Centennial. And that meeting is to introduce the visitor front line, so the restaurants, the bus companies, to the attractions and to the tour operators. So how do you get to the Fortress of the Bear? What's the new menu like at one of the restaurants? And so we get everybody together, but in like a trade show booth sort of way. And that's happening on May 17th. Alaska Host Customer Service Training, we're actually doing a hybrid for this so that folks that maybe aren't able to come in person or are just not able to get away. We're going to offer that virtually, as well as doing some spaced out in person here at the Centennial. We've been doing e-news and e-blasts, so I hope you're seeing those, and as well as the Convention and Visitor Services Committee. This is the last meeting that we had, and actually one of the brainstorms was getting on the Super Bowl commercial, which then happened a few weeks later in 2020. The meetings have gone virtual. We actually had a really great attendance of about 55 people last week, 2 weeks ago for a meeting. And then we've also taken topics like you see here with the Winter Speaker Series and chamber programming to really support the community and the visitor industry. And we were able to support the COVID Conscious Business Program through Visit Sitka and the Chamber, so that we were able to, one, get the message out, and then also just help the planning department with that whole project and the visual aspects of that as well.
We also want to talk a little bit about the Alaska Fellows Program. We've been very, very fortunate in the last 2 years to have an Alaska Fellow working at Visit Sitka and the Sitka Chamber. If you're not aware of the Alaska Fellows Program, it is a wonderful opportunity for young early career professionals who've recently graduated from college to travel to Alaska and to jumpstart their careers. In 2020, we had a travel writing and content development fellow. They stay with you for 9 months and you give them very specific tasks. It's a very focused experience for them and for the organization. This year we have Maddie, who you see up there. She's our Meetings and Conventions Program Development Fellow. The program itself is designed so that all of the fellows live together. There are 8 of them, I believe, in Sitka. and they live together in a house, and they all work at different organizations across the city. But yet they come together and they have their own trainings inside. It's also a really affordable way for our organization to have someone who's excited about what they're starting their career. They have a lot of energy, a lot of fun ideas. They're coming straight out of school. And it's a great way for us to just add that extra person into our staff who can give us some new ideas and infuse some really great energy into the organization.
So just briefly, I want to introduce one of our new board members, Paul Kraft. He was recently elected to the chamber board, and he's here. He is the University of Alaska Southeast Sitka campus director. Also, we have Chris McGraw, Lillian Owens, Christine McGraw, Sarah Allison, Megan Bosak, Evie Kinnear, Lauren Olson, and Carl Potts. So that's our board of directors. We're really trying to have a diverse representation. They actually just met with to do their priority selection, and Marketing Sitka continues to be one of the board's priorities, as well as efforts of workforce development, job creation, and support of the mariculture industry. And so we'll be bringing more information and updates on that, but I wanted to make sure to recognize Paul. We have one last thing, but we want to share this video with you. This is our outdoor adventure promotional video. And so it covers recreation activities and also, of course, fishing. So here we go. So that was our presentation, and we'd love to talk to you about things that maybe sparked and any questions that you might have about the program. Yeah, hope you like the videos. We're excited about that.
Great, thank you. And you said you had one last thing for us. I thought it was going to be cupcakes or something,
Oh.
but
Well, usually.
a video with a bunch of high-fiving in it works out well too. There was a lot of high-fiving in that video.
People are
that'll-
having a great time.
Yeah, that'll be a post-COVID world, of course.
Yeah.
So thank you for your presentation today. Most informative. Is there any questions from the assembly at this point? Yeah, please.
Thank you for the presentation. I thought it was wonderful. Appreciate everything you folks are doing. I remember a conversation we had about 2 years ago. We were talking about the investment in chamber and trying to get tourists here. And I think the possibility of such a huge increase is the fruit of that. It takes a lot of time, effort, energy. Kind of a question, just a specific question. We have, and I think I talked to you folks in the office. I just stopped in one day. We're going to be having, it's my understanding, some smaller yacht boats out docking out this summer at the GPIP dock. Do you have information for the public on that for local vendors to find out?
So it's my understanding that there are plans to have it's a large or small ship come into the GPIP dock. I think that the harbors department and those folks probably have a little bit more information. There's a lot of unknowns as far as actually getting the boats into the visit, into the communities.
Okay.
But what we've been hearing from the small cruise lines, Uncruise just landed in Juneau, so they're really on par. They're expanding. They had initially started out with just being Juneau to Juneau, and they're adding itineraries to get into other communities. And we're right in there with that. And so I think there's still some uncertainties, but having those types of ships selecting Sitka and having another option for them, it gets them onto the other end of town. And as we're looking at disbursement of
Mhm.
visitors, I think that is a really cool thing to be able to be looking at.
Okay.
And having that major attraction out there with the fortress and access to trails that are right there is other things that are very marketable.
Okay, it'll be good because I talked to a merchant in town and they weren't aware that we were going to have those boats out there. So it would be really helpful to make sure that you're letting local merchant and vendors know specifically when these folks come in so that they can strategically plan for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We put together a cruise ship calendar, and it generally comes out the first week in April. There's still so many uncertainties, but once we have, it'll come out early April. We'll have
Okay.
those. Last year, we had an entire calendar and deleted, and it was painful, but we will do that again because I think it's really important to know what's on the calendar, what's coming, and letting those folks prepare. And I think that's the other part, is that really letting folks know when there are large ships coming and those communications out to business owners. Part of that is the email newsletters, and really, we've really upped our regular communication so that here's, opportunities, and people are really linked in. Also having just really strong open rates. I think people are spending more time and relying on and getting into their emails with the digital workload that we've all had to kind of be in. So I think that's, we have a really engaged partnerships with the businesses.
Okay, thank
So,
you.
Thank you.
Rebecca?
Yeah, thank you. I was particularly excited to see the effort going into independent travelers. We know that a lot more money comes to Sitka that way, and so thank you for that effort as well. On April 13th, the Assembly will meet with the Planning Commission to talk about a tourism master plan. What is your role in that? What do you see? I mean, we don't know yet what that is all going to look like, and so I'm a little premature with the question, but this is the opportunity. So what
Sure.
do you think is your role in that, and how might we draw on your expertise there?
Sure. Thanks, Rebecca, for that question. Laurie and I did attend the Planning Commission meeting last week, this week. I don't know, last week, last week, but a lot going on. But we did just let them know that we are here and available as a resource and to participate in that plan. I've actually sat in on the last big marketing plan in 2005. And so I think, our tourism plan. So I've been involved in some processes like that. And I think one strength that we have is that we can help bring the voice of the businesses to the table with that relationship, and really being out there talking to them, and the experience. I think Laurie also brings a lot of logistical experience, having worked for Allen Marine and kind of launching the catch can operation. So there's a lot of diverse amount of experiences that we have, and as an organization, we can support by having. Even in the comprehensive plan, we hosted a lunch where we were able to get business folks in where they may not have showed up to an evening meeting, but they're used to coming to our programming. And the other piece that I think needs to come and can come that we can support is a tourism best management practices program. It was launched 15 years ago in Juneau, and we had actually brought it to the board to launch it last year, and then everything happened. But basically, it's the year of preparing and having the industry. It's an industry-driven process that creates agreements that they say, this is how we will behave in the community. it also gives a place for the community to provide feedback to the industry. So say, oh, I'm so annoyed because this vehicle came in my driveway. Okay, rather than like posting on chatters or having, nowhere to feel like they're heard, there will be like a email or a call in phone number that they can leave a message to say, this is what's going on. The program then relays those messages to operators, and then the operators annually agree that these will be the practices that they'll follow. And I think that process for Sitka will be one of the strongest ways to be able to keep the community having a place to have a voice as the industry grows. And also if the industry doesn't hear it because they didn't listen to the assembly meeting where the person commented, so I think that's like another level of that, but I think it can be a piece of what we plan to do as a community to really make sure we're looking at the growth and how we can support it in kind of both sides. So.
I did have one question. Your base budget presented or the expanded budget, I don't know if it would be included in either, but does that include visitor services here at Centennial Hall, or does that anticipate the city picking that up again?
So our current contract does not include Harrigan Hall services. And that was a decision that was made at that time of the contract. And so we don't have that. The budget does, we are providing visitor services at the visitor center, as well as providing additional services to the small ships that come in this year. We really want to support that and make sure that they have all the information they need. We'll look at once any large ships that come out to the Old Sitka Dock or the Sitka Sound cruise port, we'll also have visitor services there.
Thank you.
We do about Harrigan, we do also have those training programs, and we invite them to attend the orientation, as well as giving information to the desk so that they can have, like, there's a manual that helps visitor information. And so we provide one for the Harrigan as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Anything else for Visit Sitka Chamber of Commerce while they're here?
Just a
Crystal.
real quick question. The board of directors that you had mentioned, are there 7 of them?
There's 9.
9 of them. Okay, because
Yes.
I was looking at sitkachamber.com and that's where there 7 are listed, but 2 more were added, and Paul was one of them. And who was the other one?
Let me see. We probably just need to get that updated. The other, so Lauren Olson, he is the branch manager at Northern Bank, and Carl Potts from the Sciatica Incorporated.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, we're happy to have a full diverse board for sure.
Last call for questions, comments. Great. Well, thank you very much for your time. It was quite a full presentation, but we did manage to keep it within our hour, which is the best part of all. So we appreciate that. I know that the assembly knows how to reach out if there are
Yes.
additional questions, comments, concerns, and would encourage them to do as such. So thank you.
Great,
Thanks.
thank you.
And we'll be on recess until 6 o'clock. Thank you, assembly.
Yay.